Hello and welcome to I Can't Believe It's Not the Mouse, the podcast all about animation not made by the mouse. I'm your host, Octaviano Macias, and today I'll be talking about an episode of a show we've talked about here before. Cartoon Network is a big part of my childhood, and a major part of that was Dexter's Lab. We talked about Dexter's Lab movie a while back, Ego Trip, and I figured, okay, let me talk about one of my favorite episodes of the show. Before we get started, I just want to say, if you're listening to this on YouTube, go ahead and give it a like, subscribe to the channel, feel free to comment, and ring the bell for notifications. Also, if you're on Spotify or just any other podcast site, follow this show on those platforms. Mach 5. So, just to catch you up to speed, if you forgot what Dexter's Lab is about, or don't even know what it even is, Dexter's Lab is, of course, a show that was on Cartoon Network. It was pretty much their first official cartoon, like the original show-wise. You have a boy genius named Dexter who has a secret lab in his house, and his sister Dee Dee tends to mess around in it, while the parents are completely unaware, and there's a few other characters that are either aware or unaware. That's the gist of it. This show was created by Gendy Tartakovsky, great animator, Samurai Jack, Primal. Look, what I consider to be his weakest works are the Hotel Transylvania movies. Movies that I think are fun, silly, they're time wasters. Not a bad thing. I mean, there's a lot of movies that are just there to be fun, enjoyable, nothing too serious. And that's what Hotel Transylvania is. I don't blame them for being that. I don't really mind that they're that. I mean, it's just that Gendy Tartakovsky has done so much incredible work in TV that just a simple time waster is, of course, weak for him. But again, it's not even bad. So that tells you how good the stuff that he does is. In any case, Dexter's Lab, great show, love it. One of my favorite Cartoon Network shows, one of my favorite shows growing up. You can see the ways it's impacted animation since. And in this particular episode, I just love that it feels like it's like one of the earliest ways to see where a lot of Gendy's interests came from. Just a full summary of what this episode is, if the name didn't give it away. This episode is a homage / parody of the beloved anime Speed Racer. Now, Speed Racer was something that I watched as a kid a lot. In fact, funny enough, Speed Racer was airing on Cartoon Network when I was a kid. So, in a way, this episode was making fun of something that kids my age would have been familiar with if they were watching Cartoon Network, because it was on the channel at the same time, which to me is kind of incredible, really. If you look at it compared to a lot of other anime parodies that came out around the same time, if not after, this is one of the most respectful ones. It's one of the ones where it's like, yes, this gets it dead on, and it's not just a bunch of jokes at the expense of stuff that anime doesn't even do anymore, or if even at all, which is why it's such a great episode. The whole thing is a Speed Racer parody. It's pretty much like, okay, here's like a soapbox derby. Dexter is trying to join it. His father is against it because, according to him, Dee Dee was in the race years ago and got presumably lost in that time, even though the running gag in the episode is that Dee Dee is always there. She's just right behind the father, and the father never notices that. Funny joke. Which it's even funnier because Dee Dee is supposed to represent both Racer X and the little brother from Speed Racer, complete with having Monkey as her sidekick. It really just depends on the scenario. Mandark is, of course, the villain in the episode. And there's a whole big race. And just to be true to the whole Speed Racer thing, the race happens against the backdrop of a volcano that's already active. Like, the lava is already spilling out. And that, to me, was just hilarious. The episode itself is not a very deep or complex one. It's incredibly simple. It's what you would expect from a standard Dexter's Lab episode. What makes it so good is the fact that this is an episode that pays homage to anime, and more specifically Speed Racer, and it feels true to Speed Racer. It doesn't feel like it's just making up a version of Speed Racer that never existed. It feels like the Speed Racer that we know and love. Now, granted, I know that this is technically going off of the American dub Speed Racer. It's still at least a version of Speed Racer that people would love, and that in and of itself, to me, makes it such a special episode. It's an episode that I really love. Sorry if you're hearing some crowing and rooster cockadoodle doos. But yes, on the whole, it's a very impressive episode. I found it incredibly hilarious as a kid just because I was like, yeah, I know exactly what this is making fun of. I know this is what it is. And in many ways, I wouldn't say that this was the first parody that I ever saw. Just because, growing up, I saw a lot of Looney Tunes and stuff like that. So I'm sure that there was something that I was familiar with that, I was aware was like the parody or whatever. But this was one of those instances where I'm like, this is something where I'm like, yeah, I feel like this is something that I truly get. It's something from my own um interest, like something that I had already seen before, and then I got this and I was like, oh, they're doing a Speed Racer episode. That's funny. It's just incredible because the whole thing is played straight. There is some wackiness in there. There's, like the stuff that you'd expect from a lot of anime parodies, like the dubbing is all over the place. Like, you got the lip sync all wrong. But what makes it work more than their average one is the fact that that does match up with what the show was like. I don't want to call out anything specific, but it is kind of the problem with a lot of modern shows where it's like you do an anime parody and it's always like, okay, let's make it based upon anime from like the 60s or 70s where it's like extremely stiff animation. The designs are like less refined anime stuff, which, okay, that I can probably give them a pass for just because they probably don't want to go into all the effort of like, something more modern and more detailed, but it's still just noticeable. And then they have the characters talk and act like Speed Racer characters, or just like what people expect out of anime from like the 60s and 70s. Even though anime dubbing from like the 90s or the 2000s was completely different from that. It still had, of course, the lip sync being wrong, which that I understand, but a lot of these shows still do it where it's like, no, this is like the way the 60s did it, and it's like they've changed a lot since then. So it's always just felt like, okay, we gotta improve it a little bit. But this one does it just right, and I appreciate it for that. Dexter's Lab, wonderful show. This episode, incredible parody. And I do think that it'd be nice to see Gendy return to this kind of thing, where it's like, okay, let's do a parody of one of the things that, inspired his works. Like, it's of course pretty obvious, especially after I had seen the movie, which I've talked about on here, with the Little Prince and the Eight-Headed Dragon. It'd be nice to see, because, of the inspiration for Samurai Jack, if he ever did a direct like homage to it, or much like this episode, do like a parody of it, because that movie did have its kind of unintentional comedic moments in terms of just the way it was dubbed for English, but also because of the way the animation, um, I mean, in terms of like the story, the way it was handled. So I don't know. I would like to see more of this, like just a sincere anime homage that understands what it's directly parodying. It doesn't even have to come from Gendy Tartakovsky, if I'm completely honest. It can come from anyone. It'd just be nice if someone would do something on this level again. I just want more anime parodies and homages to feel as good as Mach 5. I mean, even the name itself is kind of great. Like, instead of Mach like the speed, it would be like Mach as in the comedy, and yeah, that's all it is. But I don't know. Maybe one day, maybe as we get more and more anime fans into this medium, I don't know. I know things have certainly changed since then, but I do think this is a good example and a good standard to set for your anime parodies. I love Speed Racer. It's funny. It understands what makes Speed Racer tick, and just the whole premise was great for this episode. Yeah, nothing else to it. Thank you for listening. Hope to see you again next time, and I'll try to make it a longer episode. We hopefully we can do an episode where, yeah, this just, it's more involved. But for what it's worth, I still enjoy doing this. So thanks again for listening.
Oh, okay, you can race, but only on one condition. You do it for the memory of your long-lost sister, Dee Dee.
Hello?
There it was again.
Thanks for stopping by. Go ahead and follow this channel. Subscribe, like, and comment. Ring the bell for notifications. Go ahead and also follow my podcast. And give some love to my Patreon account while you're at it. It's www.patreon.com/psycams. Again, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you come back for more in the future.